Welcome to the Tech Life Well podcast, where we explore the leading developments in AI for January 26, hosted by Theo Hale and Aria Wells.
It's been a massive month. And, usually when we talk about AI, we're talking about algorithms, code, things that are sort of ephemeral in the cloud.
Right.
But January 2026 was the month AI really crashed into physical reality. We're seeing Microsoft literally scrambling to redesign data centers because they are drinking too much water.
And at the same time, you have the U.S. and China in this incredibly high-stakes dance over who gets the actual physical NVIDIA H200 chips.
Exactly. And it's not just hardware. The regulatory hammer is coming down hard in Europe. I mean, they're hitting Google, they're hitting X.
But the software itself is evolving so fast. We saw this huge pivot this month toward what people are calling Agentic AI, and we're moving past the viral demos that just pump up Cloudflare stock, and toward actual tools.
Real usable tools for coders, for enterprise workers.
Yeah. Plus, search is changing with Gemini 3, and DeepMind is, it feels like they're basically building the matrix with these world simulators.
It's a dense month. We have physical limits, legal boundaries, and then software that's starting to act on its own.
So let's get right into it. I want to start with that physical layer, because I think a lot of us still have this kind of magical thinking that the cloud is just fluffy water vapor somewhere.
Right.
But on January 13th, Microsoft rolled out this community-first AI infrastructure initiative. It's a nice name, but be real with me here. Is this actual altruism, or did they just realize they're about to get run out of town?
It's definitely survival. I mean, the reality is the AI data centers we're building now are a whole different ballgame from what we built 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It really comes down to heat density.
Okay.
When you pack thousands and thousands of GPUs into a single rack, the heat they generate is it's astronomical. So to cool that, you basically have two choices. You can use enormous fans, which take a ton of electricity and are really loud, or you can use evaporative cooling.
Which is basically making the data center sweat.
Exactly, it's sweating. You use water to absorb the heat. It's much more pyro efficient, which is great for the electricity bill, but it guzzles water. We're talking millions of gallons.
And in a small town or a drought-prone area, that's just not sustainable.
No. Microsoft is becoming a parasite on the local grid and the water supply. So this community-first thing it's them saying, please don't ban us.
Please let us stay.
Precisely. They're pledging to curb water use, to structure their power draws so they don't cause blackouts or spike prices for locals. They've realized that if you don't have a social license to operate, the permits just stop coming.
So sustainability is no longer just a PR buzzword.
It's a hard operational constraint. If the town cuts your water, your multi-billion-dollar training run just dies.
Speaking of things getting choked off, let's talk about the chip war. The whole saga with the NVIDIA H200 this month was confusing, to say the least. I feel like I got whiplash just reading the headlines.
You and everyone else. The H200 is the absolute gold standard right now. It has the memory bandwidth you need to train the really, really big frontier models. If you don't have these chips, you just aren't competing at the top.
And the story for a long time has been the U.S. will not let China have these. Full stop.
That was the narrative. And early in the month, Reuters even reported that Chinese customs had completely blocked the H200. It looked like a total freeze.
Okay, so total lockdown.
But then just a few days later, the story completely shifted. We started hearing about these green light approvals for specific batches.
But there had to be a catch, right? The U.S. government isn't just handing them over with a bow on top.
No, not at all. They approved the sales, but under these extremely strict security conditions. We don't have the full classified text, obviously,
right.
But this generally means the U.S. wants to know exactly where those chips are and what kind of work they're running. It's not a blockade anymore, it's a leash.
Okay, so take a company like DeepSeek. They're a huge Chinese AI startup. They got conditional approval. What does that tell us about the strategy?
It tells us that a total decoupling is either impossible or, maybe even undesirable for the U.S. DeepSeek getting those chips means Chinese AI isn't going to be completely starved out, but it also means the U.S. government is effectively picking winners and losers inside China. They're deciding who gets to innovate by controlling the hardware supply.
That is a wild amount of power. I mean, we're talking about one government shaping the intelligence capability of another through supply chain management.
It's geopolitics at the silicon level. And while the U.S. is squeezing the hardware, Europe is coming at it from the software side.
Right. Let's jump across the Atlantic. The EU was incredibly aggressive this month. On January 27th, they opened proceedings against Google under the Digital Markets Act, the DMA. The buzzword is interoperability. But what are they actually asking Google to do?
They're trying to break the ecosystem lock-in. The European Commission sees AI distribution like a utility. They're telling Google, you cannot use your control over Android to give your own AI, Gemini, an unfair advantage.
So they want third-party AIs to get the same access.
Exactly. The same deep access to the Android operating system to user data that Google's own services get.
This feels a bit like the browser wars from the 90s, but on a much deeper level. I mean, is that even technically possible? Gemini is baked so deep into the phone now, can you just plug in a different AI without breaking everything?
That's the billion-dollar question. Google will argue, no, you can't. They'll say that tight integration is what gives you performance and safety. The EU says that integration is just a fancy word for monopoly.
So if I build a better AI assistant, I can't compete if it can't get to my calendar.
Exactly. The EU is demanding Google unlock that door.
So that's the business fight. But there's a much, much darker story with the EU and X, formerly Twitter. This one was under the Digital Services Act, the DSA, and it wasn't about competition, it was about safety.
Yes, this one escalated very, very quickly. Early in January, the Commission ordered X to retain all its documents about their AI, Grok.
Just hold everything.
Yeah. Then, on January 26, a formal investigation was launched. The trigger was this awful wave of non-consensual, sexualized deepfake images being generated and spread all over the platform.
And this is that collision point we've all been dreading. You have a generative tool, Grok embedded right inside a social platform, so who's liable? The tool that made the image or the platform that hosted it?
And in this case, X is both.
Right.
That's why this case is so important. It's going to set the precedent for the entire industry. The EU is investigating if X failed to mitigate the risks of its own tool. This isn't just about moderating bad tweets anymore.
It's about being responsible for the imagination of your AI.
Exactly. This could define the rules for age verification and provenance, proving where an image actually came from for everyone.
It's interesting to contrast the two approaches. You've got the EU as the external police force, but then you have companies trying to police themselves, or at least trying to convince us they can. We saw that from Anthropic this month.
Right. On January 21st, Anthropic published what they're calling a constitution for their model, Claude.
I have to be a little cynical here. Constitution's a very lofty word for what might just be a corporate policy document. Is this just a PR PDF to make us feel good, or is there real utility here?
It's a fair skepticism, but I'd think of it less as a press release and more as a governance artifact. If you're a big enterprise buyer, a bank, a hospital, you can't just rely on a vibe check for your AI. You need a spec sheet.
So it's like an insurance policy for its behavior.
In a way, yeah. It describes the specific values and behaviors the model is supposed to follow. By making it public, they're giving regulators and customers a rubric to grade them against. If Claude goes off the rails, they can point to the document and say, look, it violated Article 3. It makes the black box a little less black.
Okay, so we've got the physical layer, the legal layer. But let's shift gears to what the tech is actually doing. Because January 2026 really feels like the month where agents stopped being a PowerPoint slide and started to become real.
Agentic AI is absolutely the theme of the month. We saw a huge spike in interest and stock prices around the whole concept.
You're talking about Cloudflare, right? Their stock just jumped because of all the buzz around Claudebot and OpenClaw.
It was a viral moment, but it signaled a real market shift. These were experiments combining Anthropic's Claude model with Cloudflare's infrastructure.
Yeah.
But the key is what they were doing. They weren't just chatting, they were autonomous.
Okay, let's break that down. We hear autonomous agent all the time. How is that different from me just asking a chatbot to write a poem?
It's a fundamental architectural shift. When you ask a chatbot a question, it predicts the next word, gives you an answer, and then it stops. It's a one-way street.
Right.
An agent operates in a loop. It has a thought. It executes an action like browsing a website or running some code.
Yep.
It observes the result, and then it feeds that result back into its own thought process to decide what to do next.
So it's that thought-action-observation loop.
Exactly. It iterates. It could correct its own mistakes. If it tries to load a website and gets an error, it doesn't just make something up. It sees the error and maybe tries a different search term.
Yeah.
That reliability is what turns it from a toy into a tool.
And we're seeing this move beyond just experiments now.
Oh yeah. The big players are cementing the trend. On January 30th, Anthropic launched Cowork plugins. This lets companies build tailored agents for their specific workflows, like processing invoices or managing calendars.
And then there was GitHub Copilot.
Which is huge. On January 26th, GitHub rolled out support for GPT 5.2 codecs. And OpenAI used some very specific language here. They called it optimized for long-horizon agentic software engineering tasks.
Long horizon. What does that actually mean in a coding context?
It means planning. Current coding assistants are great at autocomplete. They'll guess the next few lines of code. Long horizon means you can give the AI a much more complex goal, like refactor this entire payment module to use Stripe instead of PayPal.
Wow.
And it can plan out the hundreds of steps required to do that across many different files.
So your job as a developer changes. You're not writing every line of syntax anymore. You're the architect.
You're the project manager. You define the goal, the agent does the bricklaying, and then you review the final product. We are really moving from simple code completion to actual code creation.
So agents are doing more of the work. But even how we find information is changing. We got some news from Google on search this month.
We did. Google Search now supports follow-up questions in their AI overviews, and it's powered by Gemini 3.
It sounds simple, follow-up questions, but I feel like that fundamentally changes the rhythm of using the internet.
It breaks that old cycle of query, click, leave. Before, Google was a directory. You searched, you found a link, you left Google. Now it's a conversation.
You stay on the page.
You stay inside the AI, you ask a question, you get a summary, and then you can say, okay, but explain that more simply, or what about the cost? It turns search from a single action into an ongoing dialogue.
Which is great for users, but maybe not so great for the websites hoping I'll click on them. I want to close on the most mind-bending part of the month. We've talked about agents acting in our world, but we also saw AI start to build new worlds, simulations.
This is the real cutting edge. We saw two totally different takes on world models this month. On one side, you have Google DeepMind's Project Genie, which they unveiled on January 30th.
And Genie is, what, a dream simulator?
That's a great way to put it. It's a general-purpose world model. You give it a text prompt, like a cyberpunk city in the rain, and it generates an interactive environment from that prompt. You can then explore it in real time.
But here's what gets me. It hasn't been programmed with physics, right? It doesn't know Newton's laws.
Not at all. It has no concept of the laws of physics. It learned gravity by watching video. It's seen so much gameplay footage in real-world video that it just predicts that if something goes up, it's statistically very likely to come back down.
So it's simulating the effect of physics without knowing the rules of physics. It's predicting the next frame of reality.
It's basically hallucinating a consistent reality. And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have NVIDIA's Earth 2 models.
Which is the opposite of fantasy.
Exactly. This is about simulating our world, presumably to save it. These are open models for weather and climate forecasting. They even have a nowcasting model that uses satellite data to predict clouds and rainfall with just incredible accuracy.
So you have one AI simulating fantasy worlds we can play in, and another simulating our actual planet so we can survive on it.
And both rely on the same fundamental breakthrough. Generative AI is moving beyond just text and images. It's starting to understand and simulate complex, dynamic, physical systems, whether it's a video game level or a storm front over the Atlantic.
It's kind of overwhelming when you stack it all up like that.
It really is.
So let's try to synthesize this. If you look back at January 2026, it really feels like a maturation point for the industry. We're not just talking about chatbots anymore.
Yeah.
We're looking at a technology that is bumping up against hard physical limits.
Like water and chips.
And hard legal limits, like the ones in the EU. But at the exact same time, the software itself is becoming active. It's becoming agentic.
That's the key takeaway for me. We're moving from a passive AI, a system that waits for you to ask it a question, to an active AI. We have agents that code, agents that browse the web, agents that manage your workflows. And underneath all of that, you have this new infrastructure of simulation, these world models that help the AI understand the environment it's actually operating in.
It raises a pretty provocative thought for me then. If we look at where this is all going, with world models like Genie creating the environments and autonomous agents like Cowork doing the tasks, are we moving toward a future where our role as humans is simply to define the parameters of the simulation? Do we just set the rules of the game and then let AI agents live inside it to do the actual work?
That is both exciting and a little terrifying. A world where we're the game designers and the AI is playing the game.
Something to chew on as we head into February. Thanks for listening. Follow Tech Life Well podcast channel for more helpful episodes.